What is a scientific theory? A scientific theory serves as a comprehensive explanation of phenomenon within the natural world, grounded in repeated testing and substantial corroborating evidence. This rigorous approach follows the scientific method, utilizes established protocols and observation, measurements, and evaluation to ensure reliability and validity in understanding complex systems.
All right, so here's how we're going to do this. Since Ankh has afforded us extra time, we can take our time and address a variety of misinformation that Ankh has plagued the community with, along with his trolls in the chat over there we see. So, and what I mean by afforded us extra time is that Ankh has taken half of his first round to let everybody know that Darwin did not have a complete scientific theory, which is the question of the debate, just in case Ankh didn't know what we were debating here.
Can theories be debunked or discredited? Not usually in the way people think. Instead, they are refined and expanded or replaced by theories that explain more. Example, Newton's theory of gravity was debunked when Einstein's general relativity came along. Newton's laws still accurately describe motion at every scale. Einstein's extended them to include high speeds and strong gravitational fields.
Now, when we go back to the story of Kepler and the Kemet actually provide the parts and interactions for what today is called quantum field theory. This is something that Ankh doesn't understand. Ankh doesn't understand parts and interactions. So for the audience, parts and interactions of the parts make up something called a scientific mechanism. You have to have a scientific mechanism in order to have a complete scientific theory. If you don't have a scientific method, your theory is incomplete. So just put that in your notes while we're doing this thing here.
Darwin observed that isolated species like those of Galapagos share traits with mainland relatives due to adaptive radiation evolution. Modern proof of biographical evidence we can see here by these finches, and we see the different sizes in their beaks. Although they was on different islands, they still shared common ancestry, and you see the different sizes in their beaks actually shows the modern proof. Okay, modern research supports Darwin's prediction. Extensive evidence, notably the finches, exhibit adaptive radiation, show coats in different environmental pressures can lead to evolutionary diverse species from a common ancestor.
Now, the origin of developmental homology. Developmental homology talks about how humans have certain things from amphibians and reptiles. We want to show that this is, again, from our ancestors. Modern science didn't create this, we did. Here is what amphibian and reptile eggs look like. And you'll notice that the allantosis is where respiration is passed from reptiles and amphibians onto the mammals and humans.
Darwin's prediction, vestigial structures. Darwin predicted that through the process of evolution, organisms would retain vestigial structures, body parts that have lost their original function over time. This reflects their ancestry and changes that have occurred through evolutionary theory. Vestigial organisms, atavisms, and atavisms. Modern proof, real world examples. Vestigial organs in humans include goosebumps, stress reflex, and pelvises, ancestor. Okay, this is pivotal on what we talked about. Atavisms, human traits, extra toes in horses.
We have that right here at the birthing houses and the birth walls, where they show right here on the right of your screen. This is a representation of the amphibians and the reptiles holding the Ankh to the new baby's mouth to give respiration. So here you have the reptiles and amphibians passing on respiration to the mammals, and then here you have it on the wall, developmental homology.
Darwin's prediction, gradual evolution. Darwin gradualism. Evolution occurs slowly over time through small inherited changes. Gradualism versus variation. See, right here we have the bones of the fossil of a horse. Comparative research, especially in long-term E. coli experiment by Richard Enqi, has provided direct evidence for real-time evolution, demonstrating how variation leads to adaptive change. Fossil records of horses also illustrate gradual morphological transitions over millions of years, supporting Darwin's theory of evolution.
Now, how could they have known that biology in Kemet without a microscope? How could they have known that? Well, because they had microscopes. See, and this is the problem with the Kemetic cosplay. With the Kemetic cosplay, they don't want to let you know where microscopes came from. And there is no such thing as modern science without a microscope. No such thing as modern science without a microscope. Here we see right here engraved in the wall where our Kemetic ancestors actually created and left the blueprint for microscopes and telescopes. What you see on the left of your screen is a modern diagram of what a microscope looks like. What you see in the middle section is an up-close version on what's left in the wall. You see the eye at the top, matches the eye on the side. Then you see what looks like a bread hieroglyph is actually a convex lens. That's very important because that's the thing that magnifies the image. Then beneath that, you see semen coming out of the phallus of men, the god men. He's releasing semen. And then you see a sperm cell accurately depicted under the convex lens. Now, why that's important is because the sperm cell is the smallest cell in the human body. And there is no explanation on God's green earth how they could have got an accurate depiction of a sperm cell in Kemet without a microscope. But not only do they have the accurate depiction of the sperm cell, they actually have the accurate depiction of the microscope blueprint. So you have the eye, you have the convex lens, then you have your specimen on top of the tray. And then when you see those three striped lines under the tray, those three striped lines mean multiplicity. So what it's showing you is that when you look at the semen under the convex lens, you see a multiplicity of these semen cells or sperm cells. Just in case nobody knows what a convex lens looks like. Right? Just in case nobody knows what these things look like. We want to make sure it's good and clear. Right? Not only do we want to make sure it's good and clear, we want to show the proof of what the sperm looks like. Because when you see that they saw what the smallest cell in the human body looked like, that means they know what every other cell in the human body looked like. If they could see the smallest one, they could see every other cell in the human body. Now, for further proof, because I know Sa somewhere talking about source it up.
Testable evolution prediction. Transitional fossil identified. Homogeneous structure evidence. Homogeneous, my fault. Let me get this right. Homologous structures. It's a biographical patterns observed. Vestigial traits demonstrated. Embryology links established. Gradualism and evolution demonstrated. Human origins traced back to Africa. Charles Darwin observed diverse species in different environments. He formulated ideas based on natural selection and adaptation. These ideas led to the development of his scientific theory. Scientific theories have predictive powers. Understanding Darwin's unified theory of life helps us appreciate both the interconnectedness of all species and the principles of evolution that continue to guide scientific research. Darwin's theory posits that all life forms share common ancestry created by a vast tree of life that explains the diversity and similarities in the species through evolution and natural selection.
Sa.neter the OG with the crown on his chest. Debate MCs, put their minds to the test. Apostle preach loud, sun tired, never rest. Songs got the fire, Jabari's finesse. Enqi the original, the captain of truth. Hebrews go to war, ancient scrolls is proof. Bible in one hand, walls of Kemet in the other. Battles that break bread but never smother. You need thick skin. We make movies, yo. Who you know? This is sa.neter studio. The toughest environment where legends are born. No place for the timid. Only fire and storm.
Pyramids cast shadows, history unfolds. Echoes of warriors, their stories retold. Scripts on the walls, hieroglyphs bold. But the Bible stands steady, centuries old. Hebrews with the scrolls, Kemet with the stone. Wisdom in the clash, yet the seeds are sown. Sa.neter, the arena where the mighty collide. Truth sharp as a blade, no room to hide.